Welcome back to the Millennium Technologies podcast. I'm glad everyone came back for the second installment. We are going to talk about some common questions, things that I get a lot of questions about, and so do my tech guys. So we're going to cover porosity and streaking today. So porosity be the first one, and a lot of people ask, they'll see a replated cylinder or a regular plated cylinder and ask why there's little pits that they can see in there once in a while. I've got a sample of a cylinder here, and we'll have some graphics up a little later, where you see little pits around the ports or in the cylinder that are technically flaws, but not really flaws in the plating. Usually it's in the base metal. It's underneath the bottom of the cylinder. It kind of looks like this, where there's little dimplets. It's what it is it's air trapped in the aluminum casting during its pouring process. When we machine them, we expose those air pockets, which causes little dimples. When the plating happens, you'll fill the plating up, and you'll see the plating will go over the top and fill in those holes, but won't completely fill it up on the top of the surface. So that's kind of where you can see the porosity, and then when we diamond hone it, they're still there, but sometimes they'll disappear depending on how deep the holes are. The worst thing with those is if it's actually not porosity and a hole going through the casting. That can cause a problem, but true and ordinary porosity is not it's more of a cosmetic thing and not a performance thing. Actually, back in the 60s, when this process was done with hard chrome instead of Nickel, they would actually purposely machine in little divots to help hold oil, and that's what happens in a motor when you run it now. Those holes tend to fill up with carbon and oil and other things, and don't cause any problems. They actually improve in the oiling of the cylinder. Some of the other questions related to porosity is will it cause some blow-by or extra oil in my combustion chamber when during running? And no, it helps with the oil film that's normally there. We've never seen any increased blow-by by a cylinder with porosity. We've actually run some that look like Swiss cheese, and they still work pretty well and don't have any issues. I've had customers that say, please don't get rid of my porosity, because I know that cylinder runs better than any of the other ones because of the porosity and the better oil retention related to porosity. We can do things to help remove it. The cylinder looks better when it doesn't have any porosity, but typically it's nothing that you have to worry about from a functionality standpoint. Other than that, the main thing with it is to remember that it's usually in the base metal. It's nothing that can get prevented. It's just a drawback of a casting over something that's wrought or a forged aluminum. So even cast iron and some of the other things have porosity in it. It's just that they're darker in color, and you can't see it as well as you can with a plated bore, or a pure aluminum alusil type kind of casting. So that was the big thing with porosity, and hopefully we've answered all the questions related to it. Again, you feel free to send me emails with other questions or things that would spawn from that. I'd be more than willing to cover it in future podcasts. The other main big area that we get a lot of questions about is streaking. A standard streaking cylinder, it looks like the bore has been scuffed, or some people say, well, it wore through the plating, or the plating is coming off, or anything else. And there's a picture of streaking here, and as you can see the marks, but when you actually look under a magnifying glass, it's not through the plating. We can usually hone a couple tenths out, and it'll go away. And it's usually caused in the initial break-in period, where there's not an oil film on the bore. But other causes can be related to how the bore was cleaned. Was there other trauma inside the engine? Platers are not infallible. It could be caused by soft plating. The soft plating thing, we do a number of steps here to ensure that our coating meets all of our high standards. But stranger things have happened, and you see it on OEM coatings and things of that nature. And sometimes it is directly related to the coating being very soft. So anyone who tells you that it never can be caused by the plating is not being truthful. But like I said, the trick is to make sure that you do everything you possibly can to prevent that from happening. Getting back to the other things that can cause the streaking. Cleaning is very, very important with a plated bore. It's kind of the cleaner the motor is when you assemble it, the better it's going to run and the longer it's going to last. So we always recommend to go into the cylinder with a brake cleaner and a blue cloth, spray the bore down, keep wiping it until you do not see any black material on that paper toweling that you're cleaning the bore with. That's when you know it's perfectly clean. Another way that we've always recommended for a long period of time is to use soap and water. Wash the bore down with soap and water, get it clean, then do the brake cleaner test and get it clean. Cylinders that we send are clean, but they're not assembly clean. We feel that has to be done the couple moments right before assembly, so that it's not assumed that it's clean. So that's why we don't send our cylinders out assembly clean, because it can get dirty in the time it gets put in a box by us and actually gets ready to be assembled on a motor. So that's kind of how we do that and why we don't send them assembly clean. And the reason why the cleaning is so important is there can be diamond dust or particulate material that will get in between the plating and the ring, and that's what will cause some of that streaking. So a clean bore is the first step to ensuring that it's going to be done properly and the engine will prevent from streaking. The next thing is assembly. I hear people say they use WD-40 or things of those types of oils or things of that nature that when they assemble the engine. That will, a WD-40 is basically a kerosene. The first time the engine sees any combustion, it burns away and will not protect the cylinder wall from the ring for that first initial light up. So we recommend a full synthetic assembly lube or a full synthetic oil that's liberally applied to the bore and to the rings and the piston skirts. The main cause of streaking is that that ring will force through the oil film and cause a dry ring on a dry bore. That's usually what happens and how streaking is created. The oil barrier problems is again the major cause of streaking, and some of the other things that can cause that oil barrier to fail is that the engine gets very, very hot on initial startup. You don't break it in properly. You do some things that will hurt that and cause that oil to fail and allow that ring to get to the cylinder wall. That'll cause streaking. Another thing which is gotten a lot better over the years is ring tension. A very high tension ring will force its way through that oil barrier and cause the engine to streak also. So that's another thing that can be checked and prevented to help with the bore. So the oil or the ring tension is important, that it's as soft as you can get with or as light as you can get without causing any blow-by issues. It also will produce more horsepower. So the lighter the ring tension, the better. The old days of the rings wearing and the bores wearing out very fast. Since everyone is using such hard materials, chrome and nitriding, and the bores are very hard, it's kind of let's get it worn into a mated surface and then they stay there for a very long time. Where it used to be you'd have a real hard ring and a soft bore and it would wear the bore out. When the engine started having problems, you'd hone it to the next oversize and away you go again. But it's kind of, people don't want to have to do all this maintenance and want longer living engines, and that's how they've gotten there, is by harder bores and pretty unusual coatings on rings. When they say coatings on rings, some of the other questions are, can I run chrome rings on your coating? And it's typically the answer is yes, but in some situations it doesn't work. The engine usually will determine that. Whenever possible, we recommend not to use a chrome ring, just because there is a possibility for a failure. But where a nitrided ring or a plasma moly ring or some of those other types will help, are a little bit more forgiving than a chrome ring. But a low tension chrome ring will work fine. There's thousands and thousands of cylinders that we've done that run chrome rings and have no issue at all. There are a select few that, when it gets very, very high tension ring or in a turbo boosted or where they're running nitrous or things like that, where the cylinder pressures get to the roof, that will also, and they run a lot of gas ports, that'll cause some problems. So it's kind of specific for what they're doing. But if the aftermarket is like a Weisco or a CP, or someone is selling a chrome ring with their product, they've usually checked that out and it's worked fine. So it's kind of what the manufacturer allows. There's a lot of OEM coatings or OEM engines that have chrome rings, and they're designed for that cylinder and they work well. There's just other situations when the limits are pushed, and streaking will be one of the first signs that components are starting to fail. So that's kind of the streaking mantra. We do everything we can to make our coatings as wear resistant and last as long as we possibly can. We absolutely recommend that if you have any questions or concerns or want some more technical advice, please call us. Or send us an email. We'll be more than willing to help you with some of the experience that we've seen and what works, what doesn't, and go from there. But those are the two main questions that we get on a regular basis. And next time we'll cover some of the more obscure questions, but some of the things that we get on a regular weekly basis. So thank you for tuning in this time, and I'll be glad to see you next time.